to make sure.
Hello and welcome into this week's edition of AFMC TV. We're so glad you joined us. Joining us today is our friend and therapist, Ken Clark from Chenal Family Therapy. Hi, Ken.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here today. I wanted to talk about a topic, we hear often, we hear quite regularly about the topic of depression. And there may be a connotation that we associate depression with females or maybe in children, but not often do we associate it with males. And so I guess my first question is very basic, and that is there a level of impact that depression has on men?
Yeah, absolutely. It's as widespread as it is with any other classification of humans, right? Whether it's by gender or age or anything else. Humans battle depression at a fairly high rate over the course of their lives. In other words, probably 6 or 7 out of 10 adults will have some bout of something that looks like clinical depression somewhere, at least once in their adult years. It might be around the loss of a loved one. It might be midlife crisis. It might be just a rough experience in college. But men experience that just as much. Now, the tragedy is that we pretend like men don't, that men are somehow impervious to this, or we just toughen up or something like that. But the reality is men in general experience depression at a rate of like 5 to 6 million adult males a year in the U.S. So it's very prevalent. If you're battling any of the symptoms of depression, you may not know what those are yet, but that would make you incredibly normal.
Let's touch on what some of the symptoms might be. Are they different between male, female, and kids?
They're definitely different, and some of that different is part of how we're trained probably in our society to act as men and women at times, some of the traditional values. It's a lot more acceptable for women to shed tears probably than it is guys in some cultures, right? And so you'll see kind of that higher emotionality sometimes come out of women. Not that it doesn't with men, by the way. They just don't tend to do it with their peers at the office. They might go out in the work shed and shed some tears, but a lot of times we'll see things like irritability and kind of a general just blah, like just kind of stalled out, not feeling motivated, a loss of joy and pleasure in things. That can all, like burnout, right? Like that, the same thing that the burnout kind of looks like is what it can look like for men with depression in general. So.
Are there circumstances where depression in men may just show up all of a sudden? And maybe when I say circumstances, maybe even a triggering event?
Yeah. Oh, sure. I think in general, right, anything traumatic, loss, scary events, military service, being a first responder, all those things can change how we see the world, whether or not we feel hope or fear, things like that. So for sure, the things that we're exposed to can do it. I think men naturally also hit some, like probably a lot of people hit some plateaus in their life where they have to redefine who they are. And you realize at, 49, you're probably not starting a new career and this is it. And this is the house you're going to live in, so there's those probably moments of grief and acceptance that can lead to depression as well, that are kind of life stage stuff. And then in general, I think men a lot of times don't have close confidants and friends as much as we see women and younger people, kids. And so I think there's a lot of isolation and loneliness among men, even if they're standing in a crowded room full of other men, right? Because they don't connect on that level. So anybody that doesn't really have that close friend that they vent to, that they talk to life about, that they blow off some steam with, sure, they're going to be more prone to depression as well.
Is there a possibility that men could even suffer from a little depression after maybe recently getting married or even more recently having a baby, when the focus is, in the instance of having a new child, the focus is on the mother, the focus is on the child? We hear about women who go through postpartum. Is that anything men might experience to a lesser degree?
Yeah, there's actually a diagnosis in our field called adjustment disorder with symptoms of depression, right? With depressive symptoms. So we recognize that when big things happen that adjust the way your life functions, Your identity is redefined. Your role is changed. You feel less important, or like all the pressures on you or whatever. All those things, those adjustments can lead to depression, lead to anxiety, lead to bad choices. So for sure, those curveballs that life throws us, especially postpartum and things that are just having a kid and your role gets redefined. Yeah, all that can impact who we see in the mirror and how we feel about the day ahead of us.
Okay. So what are some resources for men?
So one, men underutilized therapy, right? There's a great study in the United Kingdom that a few years ago that showed that men who went to therapy, their income went up by double digits in the year after they went to therapy, right? Like therapy works, y'all. It makes you a better earner, friend, husband, dad, son, brother, all that kind of stuff. So one, the best thing you can do if you're battling depression is go online and search for therapists in your area, or use one of these online services where you can basically be completely anonymous and start just telling somebody what's going on. They're not going to place blame on you. They're not going to make you go confront, your childhood bully or anything like that. They're just going to be there for you, and they're going to hold space for you to talk and process. Number two, if the depression is really strong and we're to the point where we can't function, can't get out of bed, we're having dark thoughts, that kind of thing, then we absolutely want you to talk to your primary care physician or a psychiatrist or a nurse practitioner who works with mental health and think about some medication for a little season of your life. Those medications make huge changes in how we experience the world without changing a whole lot about who we are. They're in the grand scheme of things, probably miracle drugs. And then last but not least, tell the people close to you that you're struggling. Ask for more time. Ask for more companionship. A lot of these problems of anxiety and depression and other things we can't solve without the help of the world around us. We know that people that have strong support systems who are engaged and care for them move through these things much quicker. So talk to somebody is the punchline of all those.
And Ken, how can people get in touch with you or get in touch with your group if they have questions or want to talk to somebody?
So our practice, Chenal Family Therapy, is all over the state of Arkansas, but there's a lot of great practices here too that we're honored to call colleagues. So you can always find us on the internet at chenaltherapy.com for anywhere in Arkansas as well as Dallas, Texas. But I would encourage you as well to just go to Google. Go to Psychology Today, go to some of these directory sites where there's listings of therapists, and read through the listings until you find somebody that resonates with you, that seems like they have your life journey or understand your background. Finding the right therapist is like finding that great pair of jeans, right? Like you gotta try a few on, you gotta break them in. It's okay to move on from a therapist after 2 or 3 sessions if it's not working, and try somebody else. So get online. You'll find some great resources for us and other places.
All right, Ken, thank you for joining us today and for that great advice.
Always great seeing you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us today. We'll see you back here next week for more AFMC TV.